Undine. Undine, the original mermaid story, rewritten by Mary Cowley Takaoka. Undine is a watery fairy tale taken from Germany. This version of Undine follows the novella by Frederick de la Motte Fouque, which was written in 1811. The story was a big influence on Hans Christian Andersen when he wrote the lovely Little Mermaid story. Hello, I am here with a fairy tale about a water nymph who becomes human. A long time ago, there was an elderly fisherman who lived between the green woods and the sea. That was home to the sea lions, who many times were mistaken for mermaids by lonely fishermen out on the sea for months at a time. The fishermen were a rough bunch who rarely spoke much with the genteel townsfolk. Visitors to each other's world were rare, and so, one evening when the fisherman saw the silhouette of a gentleman on horseback, he called to his wife to get ready to receive a guest. She prepared a dish with a light little supper and a bowl of porridge. The elderly fisherman called out, "Greetings, sir. Please pay us an honor of a visit to our humble bungalow." The gentleman was glad to find a roof where he might find food and shelter, and he rode towards the elderly fisherman's home. By the time he reached it, the sky had already grown quite dark. The fisherman invited him to come inside. The young man sat in an armchair and put his injured leg up on a davenport, for he had sprained it. They could see that he was quite young and good-looking, yet somewhat tired from his journey. He told them that his name was Thomas Hilbrand and that he had a home that stood on the banks of the sea. "Is it raining?" Thomas asked. "I'm not sure," said the old man. As he got up and went to the door, he opened it and called out, "Undine, will you never stop playing these foolish tricks? We have a visitor." A few moments later, a girl's voice said something like, "Don't be so serious, father." Thomas turned his head and saw a young woman stepping into the cottage. He had not expected to find anyone like her here. She was very beautiful. "And who's this?" she said with a shrug and a little point at the knight. Her manner was quite sassy, but not without charm. "Oh, my little Undine, you can be so charming," chided the fisherman's wife, who was presumably also the girl's mother. "Does he talk?" asked Undine, ignoring her parents' discomfort. "Forgive me," said Thomas. "I hurt my leg when I fell from my horse in the forest. I'm a little slow right now." He clambered to his feet and gave a little bow to the slight girl. She smiled ironically and said, "A proper knight, I perceive, and doth thou haveth a castle yonder?" "Undine, don't be so impertinent," chided her father. Suddenly her eyes flashed with temper. "Well, be that as it may," she replied. And turning promptly around, she headed back through the door into the night, running down the path. "Fiery," said the gentleman, almost approvingly. It was hard to tell if he was more astonished or amused by her curious behavior. "She has always been like that, ever since the day we found her," said her mother. "Found her?" asked Thomas. "So she is not your daughter?" "Not ours," chuckled the elderly fisherman. "It is a curious story. Around 15 years ago, I was returning from the market and making my way home through the woods. As I was nearing our cottage, I saw my wife running towards me. I knew something was up, because she never ventures into the woods normally. She first found a blue ribbon floating in the water. Perhaps it belongs to a watery nymph from the deep sea kingdom," she asserted in earnest. "We slept that night, but in the morning we found in the cot where we left the blue ribbon a little girl, but she was not ours. She is Undine, whom you have just met. Her hair and her clothes were wet. We assumed she had fallen in the sea. Of course, we searched everywhere for her family. Then we accepted the child as a gift from God. Although she has always been willful and strong-headed, we have always loved her like our long-lost daughter." Thomas was clearly fascinated by their tale. "Indeed, what a strange story," he chuckled. "I hope to learn more about this mysterious and beautiful creature." Just then the wind howled through the trees and the rain began to beat down on the roof of the cottage. There is a storm, exclaimed Thomas. We cannot allow Undine to stay out there in such terrible weather. And so, pulling his coat over his head, he too went through the door of the bungalow and disappeared into the darkness. The young man hobbled on his sprained leg as fast as he could manage. He followed the path towards the woods, for certainly she wouldn't head in the path of the sea. He soon found that a stream was now gushing through the path. He was about to step into the torrent when a beautiful lilting song called out, "Oh, knight in shining armor, be careful about such an innocent-looking stream. It is full of mischief." He looked up the hill and could just make out that Undine was sitting on the little island in the middle of the stream. She was sheltered from the storm by the branches of a giant oak tree. Thomas scrambled up the hill and held out his hand to help her jump across onto the bank. "We must return you home to your elderly parents who must be worried about you," he said, spreading his cloak above their heads to protect them from the rain. "Oh, they're not concerned," she teased. "I will follow you back if you promise to tell me the story of your journey to get here from your mysterious and enchanted castle." "I shall indeed," said he. "It's an unusual story, though perhaps not by your standards. Now, let's hurry," and they rushed as fast as they could back to the bungalow. Later, as they dried out before the fire, the knight told her the little family the story of how he came to their neck of the woods. "A week ago, on the other side of our bounteous island, there was a festival. I took part in a treasure hunt. We were told to ride through the woods to the sea on the other side and must report back with news of whatever or whomever we find there. I maneuvered my way around the sea. Later, my horse took fright and I reared, and I tried to rein him, but I fell from my saddle. That is how I hurt my leg. I rode on, but then towards night I felt a chill on my back. I looked around and saw strange white clouds following towards me. The strange clouds had vanished, but I managed to gather my horse and ride on. Eventually, I came out of the other side of the thicket. That was when I knew I was near the end of my quest." "I heard your family's kind voice offering me hospitality, and here I am." "Have peace of mind. The white clouds come in from the sea at any time of day or night. You and your horse need not be afraid." Though Undine added kindly, "I am glad you were not hurt more badly when you fell from your horse." Now it was time for everyone to sleep, and they all found a place to sleep in corners of the cottage. They set the gentleman up in a nice room at the top of the stairs. He had a bed, a table, a chair, and a lamp. In the morning, the room was still raging, and the stream had grown more fierce. It was not safe to cross yet, and Thomas was still cut off from the way back to the city and his home. For the next few days, the weather did not improve. Thomas and Undine spent much time together. To be continued.